Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this is one that's coming straight out of Southern California. Where you have an individual who preyed on a few victims, robbed them, and ultimately committed murder. And there are allegations that there are multiple people that this young man ended up killing, and it was almost turning into a serial killer kind of situation. He's not being tagged as a serial killer, but multiple victims, murdering them, and then expunging all of their money out of the victims' accounts, which is one of the ways that he got caught. This technological society and the electronic society that we live in, one good thing about it, it is a good measuring stick for following and tracking everything that one does each and every day. And it can help and aid police in finding victims and also finding perpetrators. So let's go. Plumber poisoned elderly customer with fentanyl, paid himself with victims' accounts, DA says. Authorities have released shocking new information about a case involving a Camarillo man who is currently behind bars for one murder and was recently linked with another. Rothery Darrell Foster was arrested last year in connection with the murder of 35-year-old Jose Antonio Velasquez, who was reported missing in July 2022, and whose body was found months later off Mulholland Drive in the Santa Monica Mountains. Mr. Foster and Velasquez knew each other and were both plumbers. Officials from the Ventura County District Attorney's Office and Sheriff's Office said. It's alleged that Foster used a gun to violently and forcibly obtain the other man's banking and financial information and personal checks, which he then used to acquire cash and pay for things like gas, clothing, and food. Foster was eventually arrested and charged with the murder of Mr. Velasquez, but as prosecutors and investigators began to build the case against him, they discovered abnormalities that they said showed it wasn't the first time he committed an act of murder and paid himself after the deaths. Investigators subpoenaed Foster's bank account information and discovered multiple payments made to him by 72-year-old Bill Dean Levy. This is the second victim, a Los Angeles man who was found dead inside his Granada Hills home on January 10th, 2022. Neighbors said Mr. Levy was a quiet but nice man who lived a regimented lifestyle and kept a rigid schedule about his daily routines, adding that neighbors grew concerned when he suddenly disappeared from view. Fryhoff said there was no reason to believe that there was any foul play associated with his death, which was originally ruled to have been the result of natural causes. But as investigators looked deeper into Foster's financial records, they were shocked to discover that the payments Levy, this is the second victim, appeared to have made happen on January the 11th, 2022, the day after Mr. Levy was found dead. Investigators determined that Mr. Foster had done plumbing work at Mr. Levy's house on several occasions, and during a press conference on Wednesday, officials said there appeared to be a troubling and similar pattern that showed the potential for murder for financial gain. Levy's body was later exhumed, and a full autopsy was performed, at which point the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office determined his death was the result of exposure to fentanyl, a highly potent narcotic. His cause of death was then changed to homicide. Fryhoff said additional evidence tied Foster to Levy's death, which led to the new murder charges being filed earlier this week. But the sheriff says Foster's crimes aren't just limited to those two individuals. Other suspicious transactions appeared to connect him to a Los Angeles man who'd also hired him for plumbing services. Additionally, authorities believe Foster committed an armed robbery in July 2022 at a convenience store, in which he tied up the employee and stole an undisclosed amount of cash. Cell phone data and license plate photos show that Foster was involved in that robbery. Foster has since been charged in connection with the convenience store robbery. In total, Mr. Foster, he faces 33 felony charges and over 100 special allegations, including murder in the first degree, murder in the commission of a burglary, forgery, identity theft, and intentional and deliberate administration of a poison. Let's look at Foster's past history that led up to him being this diabolical criminal and murderer. Foster previously was sentenced as a juvenile to 21 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter and assault with a deadly weapon. He was paroled in 2018, and Ntanyl said he wasn't sure how much of that sentence Mr. Foster ultimately served. At the conclusion of the press conference, Ntanyl provided additional information about Bill Levy. That's the second guy he had murdered, who he said grew up in Westchester and was one of 10 siblings. He lived alone and previously worked as a bookkeeper and an employee of the United States Postal Service. Mr. Levy donated his entire estate to the City of Hope, the American Heart Association, Children's Hospital, and Delta Animal Rescue, Ntanyl said. Man, what a tragic story. And there's 3 individuals that Mr. Foster has been tied to in robbery, assault, and alleged murder. The first one was Mr. Jose Antonio Velasquez, who he worked with as a plumber. He's been charged with his murder. And then this elderly man, Mr. Levy, who, as you see, 72 years old, lived by himself, a nice guy. And he had done, Mr. Foster had done some plumbing work for him. That's how he got into his house. And then he decided to kill him by poisoning him. And Mr. Levy, by all accounts, was just a very nice gentleman. And look where he donated his entire estate to the City of Hope, the American Heart Association, Children's Hospital, and Delta Animal Rescue. That is an individual that needs to be alive and on this earth spreading positivity. However, this gentleman here, Mr. Foster, who is displaying demonic, devilish, negative energy throughout anybody that comes across his path, hopefully he will be convicted of these multiple crimes and murders and will spend the rest of his life in jail. As I said, he's been charged with 33 felonies and over 100 special allegations. This is a clear illustration of there are some people, and maybe many people, that do not need to have their freedom, that need to be incarcerated for the rest of their lives. They're not contributing anything positive to society, and this guy is a clear illustration. Also, the caveat to this particular story is we have to be very careful who we welcome into our homes, whether it's the energy, the spirit of that person. How do we vet them? Mr. Levy was just a very nice man, 72 years old, lived by himself, and Mr. Foster comes in, who's supposed to be doing plumbing work, and decides to commit a heinous crime against Mr. Levy, and then, unfortunately, he killed him. This is a clear example here again where we have to be very careful what kind of energy we let into our home is not Mr. Levy's fault. I mean, how do you completely vet somebody that's coming to fix your dishwasher or your air conditioning unit? I mean, all you can do is hope and pray, and hopefully they'll just do the job and leave your home. Where this guy was predatory, Mr. Foster was predatory in every ounce of his soul in a negative way to prey on individuals and to victimize them. Um, there are a lot of crazy people out here in this world. It's unfortunate. Uh, there are a lot of starving individuals that are out here. There's a demon in the belly. They are in the belly of the beast. And this is a classic example of we have to keep our head on a swivel, utilize the five senses that God has given us, and hope and pray that when we come across people each and every day, whether it's the gas station, the grocery store, having somebody come in to do maintenance work at your home, that they're going to be on the righteous path of doing the right thing. And this is very unfortunate that Mr. Foster, Rothery Darrell Foster, 38, was just the devil and is the devil. And he is a prime example of an individual that needs to be locked up for the rest of his life. We're looking at the possibility of 3 murders, maybe even more. He, even as a juvenile, had got sentenced to manslaughter, and he has a laundry list. His history speaks for itself as far as what his present and his future desires were, and that was to harm and be hurtful to individuals and citizens that are trying to do the right thing. In his mind, he was the ultimate predator and decided that he was going to victimize, steal, and then kill the individuals that came across his path. What a sad story. Tell me what you think. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.